I make the graphics, I help write the script, I film the interviews, take pictures during the games, and now you want me to host? This might as well be called Angeline. Hi, I'm Ange Lazaro.
And I'm Liv Funk, SportsLine's go-to girl to fill in for Gwen or Riley. Just because me and Ange are hosting doesn't mean you won't get the same Explorer sports news you know and love. You're watching LaSalle's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We have the Big Five Classic coming up, cross country on their way to the championship, and all this week's Explorer recaps.
And later, me and Ange are going to have a chat about what it takes to be a producer for a show like SportsLine.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1, 2 members of the cross-country team qualified for the NCAA National Championship, McCallum Rowe and one of our very own hosts, Gwen Good. They are currently on their way to Wisconsin, where they will meet, where the meet will be on Saturday, November 23rd.
Number 2, to celebrate the men's basketball win against Drexel, there's a promo code, Big Five, for the upcoming game versus Temple for a spot in the Big Five championship.
Number 3, Demetrius Riley is this week's NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week. Riley recorded the first double-double of his career, along with a career high in scoring 18 points and 11 rebounds. So, Ange, how does it feel to be on the show?
It feels good.
Very good.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so sad that Gwen couldn't be here, but
I know.
you know, she's just doing her thing, so.
She's busy.
She's very busy.
So for number 1, the 2 members is Gwen and Mac. It's very exciting seeing the past couple races. They seem to be really close to their times of each race.
Yeah.
They were just like off by seconds. And I've seen like a trend, especially like with making the graphics, that it's the same lineup of the type of athletes. And so like it's always Gwen, and then it's Helene, and then Neve, like that kind of order. So it's exciting that we get to go to the championship.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting.
And for basketball, I've been seeing Demetrius Lilly's name come up a lot.
Yeah, he's been doing very good.
He's doing big things.
So, yeah.
That's about
Very
it.
good.
That's it for the top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. The men's basketball team continues to keep their undefeated streaks as they took on Drexel this past weekend in their first Big Five pod game. The game opened at a fast pace, with LaSalle shooting 71% from the court in the first 4 minutes. Demetrius Lilly set the tone early, scoring 6 of the team's first 10 points, including a pair of 3-pointers. Shortly after, Jaleel White's play pushed the Explorers ahead 13-6. A 10-second violation by Drexel allowed the Explorers to get by a 3 from Corey McKeithen, sparking a 10-0 LaSalle lead. The run included Lilly's free throws, White's second triple of the season, and an amazing slam dunk by Deshaun Shepard. Giving the Explorers a commanding 21-8 lead, the Dragons fought back, chipping the lead to 31-25 with a 12-3 run. But LaSalle responded with a final surge. White and McKeithen combined for 7 points in the last minutes, sending the Explorers into halftime with a 43-31 lead. Starting the second, Drexel came out aggressively, scoring 10 straight points after an Andres Marrero 3 to cut the deficit to 2. However, Lilly responded with a powerful dunk, followed strong defense that kept the Dragons away. In the final stretch, the game was a defensive war, with Drexel tying the score at 65 with just over 3 minutes remaining. Shepard answered with a clutch play, converting off a block by White to put LaSalle back in front within the final minutes. McKeithen found Lilly for a game-winning layup with 22 seconds left, which ended in a 71-68 victory for LaSalle.
This past Sunday, women's basketball faced the University of Virginia on the road. Both teams started off strong, making it hard for either team to score. LaSalle struck first thanks to a deep three from Iris McToon, giving them the lead. McToon and Ashley Connor would then combine for 9 rebounds in the opening frame of the game. The Cavaliers answered back, giving them a 5-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Virginia continued to rack up points in the second quarter, but the Explorers continued to fight. Joan Quinn knocked down a three. Soon after, Jolene Armorades continued as well. By the end of the first 20 minutes of play, McToon had 10 points, and the Explorers had the edge in rebounds, 25-22. At the start of the third, the Explorers were only trailing by 5. The Cavaliers took over offensively, giving themselves a substantial lead going into the fourth quarter. Virginia continued to grow their lead in the fourth. The Explorers fought hard until the end, but were not able to come back. The game ended in a 47-76 loss for LaSalle. It was then time for women's basketball to take on Rider at home. The game started with both teams exchanging 3-point baskets, with Imis Magasa getting LaSalle on the board. The rest of the first frame continued to be back and forth. Ashley Connor ended the frame with 4 points, and Mackenzie DeLiba added on a free throw, making it a 13-10 lead for the Explorers. The Bronx answered back in the second quarter, taking the lead, but it wasn't long until LaSalle got back on the board. Rider again answered back, scoring 7 points. At the end of the half, the score was 25-33, with the Explorers trailing by 8. In the third, Rider continued to strengthen their lead, getting up to 12 points. A 3-point bucket from Tyrencia Bowers put LaSalle back in the game. Connor and Anna Przizlak added on 6 points soon after, getting LaSalle within 3 points of the Bronx. Rider responded, getting their lead back to 5. Dalbira took over, cutting the lead to 1 in the last minute. The beginning of the fourth quarter resulted in 0 points from either team. Rider striked first. The two teams then went back and forth exchanging baskets. With just a minute 30 on the clock, Bowers hit a massive 3-point shot to bring LaSalle's within 1 point. Both teams fought hard to keep the other at bay. With just 9 seconds left, Connor drove to the bucket and drew a foul. Connor would go on the line with 1.2 seconds on the clock and knock down 2 free throws to get the Explorers back on top. One defensive stand later, and LaSalle got the 54-55 victory.
LaSalle men's and women's cross-country teams competed at the NCAA Mid-Atlantic Regional Meet this Friday at Penn State University. On the women's side, they achieved a 10th place finish, scoring 309 points. Leading the charge was Gwen Good, who dominated the field to place 7th with a time of 19 minutes, 51.1 seconds. Senior Helene Usher followed next at placing 57th with a time of 21 minutes, 19.3 seconds. Following her were Neve Mulau in 68th place, Lexi Rivard in 77th place, and Amelia Green placing 109th. The men's team finished 8th with 191 points. Leading the Explorers was McCallum Rowe. Rowe blew past the competition, placing 5th in the 10K race with a PR time of 29 minutes, 39.7 seconds. Junior Matt Hill secured 32nd place and Bram Van Druten placing 46th.
So lots going on this week. I guess let's start with men's basketball and the Drexel game. Pretty exciting stuff. Riley did pretty good with his first double-double of his career, so that was really great to see. And then everyone else just did a great job, coming in really strong, and especially doing so against Drexel. It's nice to see us doing good so far.
And especially too that since we have pretty much a whole new lineup, seems like they're working well together.
Yeah.
And they're really making the most and getting getting points because of it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so women's basketball, they're also doing pretty good. You know,
Yes.
they lost some games, but I feel like they're doing pretty good for the start of the season. The Virginia game, unfortunately, they lost.
Yes.
But, you know, they put up a good fight.
They did.
And the Rider game last night, they won, which was pretty good to see. Ashley Connor kind of like led the game for them,
Yes.
which was very nice to see. So
I was there taking pictures, and so I got to watch the game. And it does seem they're struggling a little bit to kind of work as a team, but it's understandable because it's a new lineup.
yeah,
And so, but they didn't back down. They were losing by more points as time went on, but then they were able to gain their points back, and they actually ended up beating Ryder, and it was like really exciting. It was a very close game.
It's kind of like all happening at the end, kind of similar to the men's game. I feel like they kind of like came back in the end and won, so it's pretty good. And then cross country, we already kind of talked about. Gwen and McCallum are also obviously doing great. McCallum had a PR in the 10K, which is pretty cool to see. And then Gwen, she's always doing good. So
And we wish them good luck
Yes.
on the championship.
yes.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, you get to learn more about what it takes to be a SportsLine producer and all the behind the scenes on My Graphics and Pictures. Stay tuned.
Offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. These programs cover doctor's appointments, hospital visits, prescriptions, shots, and more. As parents, we get peace of mind knowing that our children are covered if they are sick or get injured. You may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if you've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We live in a country that incarcerates its own people more than any other nation in the world.
The individual can age out of crime. He or she, 9 times out of 10, is no longer thinking like he or she once thought when they were 18. This is a good time to have a second look for everyone. We have 50 years of data that proves to us emphatically that the old way of doing things no longer works.
I've been driving a truck for 40 years now. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like that trucks can't stop quickly. It takes my 80,000-pound truck 200 yards to come to a complete stop. So I always do my best to give a lot of cushion. It helps when other drivers realize that and do the same. Please give trucks the space we need so we can all stay safe. It's our roads, it's our safety.
Dear University of...
Thank you for your offer
to become student ID number 283471.
While I appreciate your desire
for my impeccable academic record,
I must decline the opportunity
to get a generic degree.
I've decided to tell my story,
to be a student,
not a statistic.
I wish you good luck in the future
as I embark on mine.
Welcome back. Lots of people don't know all the behind-the-scenes work that goes into producing a show like SportsLine, but it's something Ange does every single week. Ange is also an amazing photographer who takes many photos for LaSalle Athletics. If any of this interests you, you're in luck, because Ange is going to tell us all about the work she does for LaSalle TV and LaSalle Athletics. So, let's begin. So, as a producer, what exactly do you do for the show every week?
So LaSalle TV has about 5 shows, and one of them is SportsLine. And SportsLine is one of the only ones that is every week, and it's maybe arguably the hardest show to do because it's every week. And so we cover last week's games that happened, and the amount of games that we cover depends on how many there are. So the script could be longer or shorter. We write the script, and then after we write the script, I make the graphics, and then in between all that, I'll work for athletics and take pictures at the games. Yes, I think that's all, everything. Oh, and we also like try and get interviews every week from different teams, or especially if they're going to like a championship or they're having a really good run, like winning streak and stuff like that.
So how exactly did you get started with LaSalle TV?
So I came to LaSalle as a digital arts major. I wanted to pursue more photography, graphic design, and you know, during COVID, I hate to bring it up, but nothing was open, or like it was very hard to find how to get involved. So I was talking to some of my professors about it, and I told them my interest because in high school I also took pictures for the yearbook for the sports. And they recommended LaSalle TV and talking to Tanya. And then at the same time, one of my friends, Libby, she kind of suggested helping out with SportsLine specifically. And that's how I started. I started just doing graphics, and then I moved up to producer, and then I was directing, TD, you know, you cover all the bases of the different crew jobs in the control room.
So for people who don't know, what does the process of script writing look like?
So we go on goexplorers.com and we look at the recaps of the games and the stats, and then we write our own recaps of the games. And we try to highlight athlete names, stats, whether it's how many points they scored, the time of the race, stuff like that. And then we have to break it up. So we have our top three, then we have our recaps, and then upcoming games. And then in between, whether it's a package, like when we did Charlie Cam and stuff like that, we would include that, or an interview. And sometimes we just fill it with like literally anything, just like making the show our own.
So how exactly do you make the graphics that we see every week on SportsLine?
So I use a template. I made a template at the beginning, especially when we got the studio upgrade. The ratios was different. So we had all new graphics. I used Canva for time purposes instead of like Photoshop and all that, but I used like the shape tool. I made all the lower thirds, and then I add the photos behind it, and then whatever names pop up, athlete names or the top three, I'll write text over it, depending on what's in the script that the graphic is for. And then I also I'm always trying new things. So I wanted to do less using just the text and trying to visually show things. So making full screens of like total scores and stuff like that. Final scores of the games, and adding more of my pictures, because it's hard to put the vertical pictures, portraits, with the graphics. So cutting it up and putting like portraits side by side is a way to help expand, like give different, show people different things, and also show more of my work.
So that kind of leads into the next question. How has the show changed since you've started to where you are now?
So when I started, we still had the older equipment, and I was very new, so shout out Libby and Siobhan for taking me under their wing and teaching me the ways, how the show works, how it should be ordered, where to look for things, all that kind of stuff. And then the following year, Megan and Charlie hosted. Shout out Megan and Charlie. And that's when we had the studio change. So we needed new graphics and a new look to it. And I wanted to make it my own, because I was using graphics that someone else made before me. So I made the lower thirds, and then as the show has been going on, I've been trying different ways to make full screens. So whether it's the final scores, or if we're talking about specific specific people or stuff, I will pull pictures that I've taken of them and put it next to their name instead of using the roster pictures, because I know that could be a little boring sometimes, especially when they're back to back. So yeah.
All right, so talking a little bit more about like the pictures you take, we'll talk a little bit more about what exactly you do for athletics and like what pictures you take and how they get incorporated onto the show.
So we have weekly meetings going over who is assigned what game. I'm on the digital media team for athletics, and we go over who wants to take video, who wants to take pictures, and then we kind of divide and conquer. So at the game, we'll all split up. Some of us will go on the baseline, and others will go on the bleachers. And with the new John Glazier Arena, there's this like top balcony that is for staff, but we're allowed to go up there with our cameras, and we get a really cool like bird's eye view. And then the same thing, like when we're on the field, some people will stay by the goal line, and some people will go on the sidelines. And it's really fun because it's with people who have the same interests as me with the photography and being creative. So it's been really fun, like collaborating and finding inspiration with each other.
Yeah. So what skills do you think you've learned working on LaSalle TV and also working with athletics?
Definitely working on your feet, like adapting to things and being quick to changes and stuff like that. Things go wrong and you have to make a split-second decision. Sometimes like stuff doesn't get done on time, and then that will fall back on the producers to clean it up and to help me like make the show, like finish the show on time so we can film.
So where can people find your photos or contact you about getting their photo taken?
You can find me at Ange's Photos on Instagram, and it has all my information there too.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we have all of this week's upcoming games. Stay tuned. I figured I would add where you could.
We live in a country that incarcerates its own people more than any other nation in the world.
The individual can age out of crime. He or she, 9 times out of 10, is no longer thinking like he or she once thought when they were 18. This is a good time to have a second look for everyone. We have 50 years of data that proves to us emphatically that the old way of doing things no longer works.
Everyone has a community, a neighborhood, school, kids' teams, where you worship, work out, or any other place or group where you choose to belong. Communities can provide support when you need it, and even when you don't know you do. Like when it comes to preventing underage drinking and other substance use. Community members can be your eyes and ears when you're not with your kids and alert you to signs of potential problems.
Unused prescription opioid pain medicines can spell risk if they're taken by someone they weren't prescribed for, or harm if accidentally taken by a child or a pet. Safely dispose of opioids before they can hurt your family. Find a drug take-back option such as medicine drop-off boxes. If there isn't one available, check the FDA's flush list. If your medicine isn't on the flush list, you can dispose of it in the trash. Get information to keep your family safe.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
If you get a phone call, do not talk to the person.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They want to get your number to put in a false claim.
Just hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call the Senior Medicare Patrol.
If you suspect Medicare fraud, contact the Senior Medicare Patrol in your state.
Welcome back. We have a busy week of Explore Sports, so here's what you have to look forward to. Men's basketball traveled to Daytona Beach, Florida to compete in the Boardwalk Battle, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They started off by playing UC San Diego. Women's basketball will travel to Washington, D.C. Friday to take on American University at 2 p.m. Then they will return home to host Lehigh University on Tuesday at 4:30.
Men's and women's swim will travel to Charlotte, North Carolina to compete against the University of Charlotte in their Fall Frenzy, both today, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Select members of both men's and women's cross country will compete in the NCAA Cross Country Championship on Saturday in Madison, Wisconsin at 10 a.m. So, lots of games, lots of stuff going on this week. Pretty cool that men's basketball is going to Daytona. That's really cool.
And playing teams like San Diego, and where you normally wouldn't be able to play those types of teams.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see how they match up against them, especially since they're on their kind of like high winning streak.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And very soon, coming up in the next couple weeks, is the Big Five Classic. So that's coming up too.
It'll be very interesting to see how they do for that. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that's all you.
Okay. That just about wraps it up for this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorers play, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For our entire SportsLine team, I'm Ange Lazaro.
And I'm Liv Funk. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.